Hello and welcome to Extra Time on Big Centre TV. I'm Gary James with guests from Birmingham City Council Sports and Events Department, Garry Peal. Welcome, Gary. And from Cycle Speedway, Glyn Rowley.
Thank you.
Glyn, thank you for coming on. And I should say from Wensfield Aces.
Yes.
Cycle Speedway.
That's
welcome. Right. We're going to start with Cycle Speedway because it's a new sport to me. Until we spoke, Glyn, I wasn't aware of it. So let's just have a look at a clip of just one of the heats from a race from a while back, just to give us a taste of what Cycle Speedway is all about. Let's have a look now.
Go on, Jamie!
Oh, that's pretty exciting stuff. And your guys, Wensfield Aces, there against Ipswich, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah, in the Elite League from a few years ago.
And what age was that? What age group was that?
It's a senior race, so, you know, in how the British cycling run, you can run at any age. The two guys there, they're in the late teens there. Right. The guy that I think came second in that race, Ricky Johnson, several times he's won under 19s British and European championships.
And each heat, is there only ever four
riders. In a team event like that, 2 riders from each team, and it's full contact. And similar to the motorcycle speedway, as where we differ, we score 4, 3, 2 and 1 point for the respective places.
And is it a growing sport, Glyn? I mean, you know, the more and more people becoming aware of it. It's a bit like the BMX. We were talking about BMX in a few shows ago about the track that's in Birmingham. We'll talk about that more with Garry in a minute. But is it a bit like that? It's a growing sport? Yeah,
it is growing. Since the success of the Olympics, it's picked up. And there's been a lot more interest in there. British cycling obviously involved heavily in the sport as well. It's not as big as the likes of BMX. You know, it hasn't got the the publicity as that's got, and with it being an Olympic sport. But it is picking up. But it's a good grassroots sport to get people involved in, of any ability in any age.
And where are you based? Where are the Wensfield Aces? Where's your track?
Ashmer Park, on the park itself, at the bottom end of the estate. Okay. We're fenced in, nice and secure now, but it's there for everybody to get access to.
And how many other teams in and around the Midlands are you?
In the Midlands, there's 6 teams. Birmingham is one of which. We're an Elite League club as well as a Midland League club, so we race in a national league as well. But there's clubs, throughout the area. There's clubs that are dwindling and that we're losing, that we're trying to bring back into the sport, just through the numbers of riders and obviously the facility of the land being used. But yeah, we compete in a local league amongst six teams, and Wensfield itself have 2 teams in the league now to give youngsters more opportunity to race in the higher levels.
So what sort of age are they starting at?
With the new licensing, this is where it's changed slightly with the licence. We've got TLI involved as well as now as British Cycling. You have to be over 14 to ride Division 1 Speedway. Right. To ride Division 2 over 14s, and then we do lower leagues, which is anything from 5 years of age up. But there's also a youth and junior league, British Youth and Junior it's called, and that is under 8s through to under 17s. All right. Is this, and that's a national event held throughout the UK.
And you bought one of the bikes in. And now, to me, the layman in the street, it looks like a bike I may have had years ago, and you've just taken the brakes off.
Yeah, well,
but it's probably more than that, is it?
Principally, back in the 60s when Wensfield Aces was started, when Cycle Speedway came in, it was after the Second World War, and it was riders emulating their motorcycle speedway heroes really by kicking off the brakes on the bikes and getting on bomb sites and whizzing around and racing that way. And the sport has grown from there, and the bikes have obviously developed a little bit in tech. That particular unit there is a full race spec Cycle Speedway bike, only fixed in 1 gear, with a freewheel, no brakes, and when you're on the track, it's full contact as well, providing you don't stay on the bars, of course.
So a good rider, how fast would he go on one of those?
Oh, crikey, you're probably getting up to 18, perhaps even 20 mile an hour on the straights on some tracks. Again, it depends on the size of the track, and you can change the gear and tweak the gearing slightly to get more speed.
So for the actual cyclists then, they're going to have some leg power, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Really fit
you bear in mind, it's only 4 laps. The race will take no more than 90 seconds to complete the race. But you imagine the burst of speed that you've got to put out from those tapes, from a standing start for 4 laps. It's an absolute killer. It's an absolute grueler. But this is where the sport's obviously growing and people are getting fit and taking it seriously.
And of course, cycling now is becoming more and more popular.
Of course,
for people, ditching the cars, cycling to work, or just going out of a weekend. So again, for the sport, it must be really good that you get in the.
It is. You wouldn't want to take that down a canal towpath, mind you. You'd end up in the you'd end up in the cut with no brakes. But yeah, it is. People are using their bikes a lot more, and the cycle lanes are getting better. And I suppose drivers' knowledge of cyclists is getting a little bit more publicised, so a little more knowledge that way.
And compared to some sports that people want to get into, I mean, some can be expensive, some not so expensive. So where does this fit in? From a price point of view?
Easy cycle sport to get into. It will cost you, with Wentzville, for example, first 3 weeks, no charge. We'll supply the bikes, helmet, gloves, long trousers and long sleeves is all the rider needs to turn up. Yeah. If they can't ride a bike, bring them down. We'll teach them to ride a bike because we've got kids that have never rode on stabilisers. We've taught them at the track and now the race. After 3 weeks, we'll charge £2 a week and we'll supply them with the bike, helmet, gloves. It's all there for them to use and they can use that kit on race days as well. If you wanted to take it a little bit more serious and buy your own kit, that bike, between £400 and £500 at the very most, you want to be paying for a full race spec bit of kit as far as your bike's concerned.
And a sponsor's starting to take a bit more of an interest now.
Yeah, we've got, well, that bike there is produced by a company called Wilkinson Wheels, or Archie Wilkinson is the name that appears on the bike. Company in West Brom, always been involved in Cycle Speedway and builds them race specific, so he does a lot of trade through the sport. But yeah, there's more and more businesses coming in for sponsorship. With the second team, for example, that the Aces introduced, we had a local business called First for Staff, a recruitment business based in Wolverhampton, based in the Midlands, and they came forward and sponsored our jerseys in their colours, which is pink and black. So we do get a bit of a Mickey take on the starting grids, but they've come forward and put some sponsorship, contributed to the club. We've got in Wentzville, we've got Yale Locks do support us, and there's many other businesses that can all be seen on our website. Our club sponsors.
Well, one of the shirts I'll have to borrow off you to add to our array of shirts.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll get a shirt off you. Yeah. And I was coming on to websites. You've already mentioned it. So if anybody's interested in getting in touch and taking a look and getting involved in the sport, you have your own website.
We've got our own, which is wentzfieldaces.org.uk. That site is being rebuilt at the moment, but there is information on there at the moment. Another source of good news is, or news as far as Cycle Speedway is concerned, is a site. It's just 3318, as in the numbers, news.co.uk, and that site holds every single bit of information and a little bit of news that's going on within Cycle Speedway throughout the country.
And you've got a massive event coming up later in the year, haven't you?
Yeah, the World Championships is coming to Wentzville. Coming to the Midlands from the 6th of August. We've got Birmingham, Leicester, Coventry and Wentzville all hosting different events on different days. Wentzville, we've got the highlight of it is the World Individual Senior Championships at the Wentzville track, which is on the 9th of August this year.
Right. And is the sport totally amateur, or is there any professionals in it?
It's amateur. It's an amateur sport in reality, but the people who do ride this do take it seriously and do treat it as if it is a professional sport. You're never going to earn big bucks through it. You're never going to earn any money through it in reality, but it's just such a great, fun community and such a good competition to get involved in.
And getting, especially kids, off the computers, off the laptops, and out into doing something that's going to, help the fitness and keep them healthy.
From any age. Our youngest rider at Wentzville is 5 years of age, and our oldest rider, Mickey Aries, which you probably won't mind me saying, he's got to be in his mid-60s. Metal Mickey, as he's called. I think he's got more plates in him than he's got bones nowadays, to be honest.
Because as you're obviously from the sports and events department at Birmingham City Council, I know you've got the BMX track, which we're going to talk about. But does that link into?
Well, I was just looking at the track there, and I think that the guys at the Birmingham club would be very envious of your track. The last time I saw their track, sadly, it was in a bit of a situation where it needs a little bit of TLC, and we've been working with them to try and look at various funding options to try and bring them back so the track can be licensed, as I understand it, so that the club membership will grow, and because they've gone through a bit of a time where the club's spiralled out. So we're looking at the possibilities of perhaps moving the track closer to the BMX track so they can share some of the facilities, the loos, electricity, water, car parking, so when they host an event, they haven't got to bring all that infrastructure in. And for a club, that's a great cost if you haven't already got that infrastructure in the park already. So we have been working with them to try and come up with a strategy to actually move the track to the other side of the main Walsall Road into the other side of Perry Park.
Yeah. Look, that's one of the basic things that you wouldn't think about, would you? You need the loos, the electricity, everything to go with it.
Yeah,
and it's
even
part
drainage on the track, you know, when you have a big downpour, we've got to have good drainage on the track to make sure you keep the shell safe and the track able to ride on. You know, with Birmingham, they are such a big club, you know, got a great history and a good team, you know, with the committee behind them. This year, they've signed some, you know, some top-class riders and they're going for a British title. I know they're going to, you know, be up there wanting the British Championships, or the British Team Championship, should I say.
OK, well, we're going to take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk cycling, BMX and more sporting events coming up in Birmingham and the surrounding areas in the next few minutes. But for now, please join us for part 2. But for now, it's half-time on Extra Time. Welcome back. This is the second half of Extra Time and we're chatting to Garry Peal from the Sports and Events Department of Birmingham City Council and Glyn Rowley, who's involved with Cycle Speedway. And we had a good chat in part 1 there. Really interesting stuff and interesting about the bike as well. And that brings us into BMX and Birmingham's BMX track, which is one of the little gems that we have here in Birmingham.
It's one of our closest guarded secrets, you know, much to the disappointment of everybody at the track. Yeah, it's an international standard BMX track. We opened it in June 2011 as part of the legacy of the city hosting the World BMX Championships in 2012. We had to develop an outdoor facility, and we chose the 80s track that was there back from the 80s in Perry Park as the track to develop. And it's a great facility, and again, is very, very cheap. We provide all the safety equipment, plus an induction process. So if you've never ridden the bike before, you know, you go through the formal training before we let you loose on the track. But it's a 5-metre start gate, getting technical now, which is a big start gate.
I've stood at the top of that. And you look down, and when you watch anything on telly or on a video clip from it, it doesn't look much. But when you stand at the top of that start gate,
it's daunting.
I don't know how, especially the kids. Well, the kids are fearless, aren't they?
They are.
But no. They asked me if I wanted to go. I said, no, it's okay. It's okay. And also Shanaz, who was the GB BMX rider, wasn't she? Who should have got the goal, but unfortunately fell off. She trains there.
She does. She's used it. She was very supportive, obviously, in the early days to promote the sport and for us in getting British cycling involved and the funds to actually build the track in the first place. She used the track on numerous occasions, both publicly and she used to just rock up as well, which was great for the kids that were there at the track at the time. But sadly now she's training in America, I believe. So
she's gone, because we were trying to get her on the show, and we're just trying to, and then she's back in the States. But I think she's coming back soon again.
I think she is, at the end of the season.
And staying with cycling in the city, there's this sort of initiative, isn't there?
There is, the Big City Revolution, I think it's called. We've got some government money to improve the infrastructure for utility cycling to and from work. So on a lot of the main arterial roads, you will see more cycle lanes going in an effort to get more people more often more active as part of the fitness and health and well-being campaign that we're embarking on. And part of that is improving the canal network so that people will actually use the canal network to cycle to and from work and to school, but also recreational cycling, because it's a great form of exercise, very healthy, very sustainable. So we've got a lot of stuff happening with cycling in the coming years.
And riding a cycle on the canal network, I mean, for example, the Cycle Speedway bike, you couldn't take that because
they're technically, it wouldn't be road legal with no brakes. You can buy the same sort of kit and have them kitted up as a as a fixie type bike from Archie Wilkinson as well. You'll build them so they are, road legal, if you like.
But that's, I mean, it's a great initiative, isn't it?
It is, and we're very fortunate for the funding we got from government that gives us, a strong encouragement to get people cycling. So we're very pleased and very proud that we've got this initiative coming up.
That's brilliant, and obviously we'll get you back on in a few months' time and see how it's going,
Sure.
and we're not. So, other events then, Gary, because obviously that's your day job. You look after sporting events in and around Birmingham.
One of the team, a small team.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting events, and I suppose the highlight for us this year is the Rugby World Cup that's coming up in September, and I guess we'll come on to that. But Birmingham has got a very strong sporting heritage with athletics, and that's what we're known for, both within the sport and with the competitors and the officials. They love coming to Birmingham. We've been associated with athletics for a long, long period of time and hosted some great and fantastic European and international events. And we've got the World Indoor Athletics coming up in 2018 at the Barclaycard Arena. So that's something for us to look forward to. So we've got a lot of grassroots activities coming up as well.
And coming up, there's the Birmingham, is it the 10K run?
It is, yeah. We haven't hosted a 10K run from the city's point of view for a while, and we have a very successful half marathon at the end of the year, and this is all part of our strategy in getting more people more active more often. So we felt there was a bit of a gap from just jogging around the streets to actually doing a half marathon. So we've got a more formal regime now, and the 10K is one of those events that's coming up in May.
Okay, and that's the 3rd of May, isn't it?
3rd of May.
That's the bank holiday.
Bank holiday weekend.
Bank holiday weekend.
Yeah. New start this year that we're testing out, ready for the half marathon in October. So we're very proud of it, and we've actually got a quite an active parks program as well, where we got led cycle rides, but also runs in parks as part of getting everybody into athletics and running.
And the 10K run, is that something you have to register? I take it you have to register.
You do,
for it,
yeah. We had a meeting this morning where we got a cap of about 6,000 in our first year, and we're up to about 4,500. So there's room for some entry still. Yeah. And it's a good event. It's run by a very professional team of people that do road races and marathons for a living. But back in the day, it used to be in-house team, and our half marathon that grew from an in-house team delivering it for the first couple of years, and the event just got too big for us to deliver. So it was a natural conclusion that we give it to a professional company that, to them, this is just another of a series of 10K runs and half marathons that they organise up and down the country.
So in terms of registering for that then, Gaz?
They go on to their website, which at the top of my head it escapes me. But if you Google Birmingham 10K Great Run, it will come up. It will come up as the first one.
Okay, yeah. And as you say, then we've got going forward, we've got the Rugby World Cup, which is massive for the city. It
is, yeah. And again, we're fortunate. We're staging 2 of the matches at the Villa Park. And so for the Villa Park, that's a change in direction slightly in terms of looking at rugby. And they've worked with us down there really well. We're very grateful for their support and cooperation. And for them, it gives them another dimension for them to look at, because, again, part of the legacy of the Rugby World Cup is it just doesn't rock into a city and then disappear. There's going to be some legacy at grassroots level, but also potentially long term that we will be able to host some other great rugby championships. So there's a lot of things happening.
And you got the fan zone.
The fan zone, yeah, which is going to be down at Millennium Point. Final details to be arranged. Our matches are on the 26th and 27th of September. And England are also playing that weekend. So we're anticipating a lot of people interested in going to the fan zone, particularly as we've got some really, really good teams that will be competing. And we're looking at about 10,000 people potentially down at the fan zone.
You're a rugby man, Glyn?
Yeah, I like to be. It's more fun than the football, I think, at the moment, rather than rolling around on the floor.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Villa Park being used for it. They know something we don't.
Well,
so now the club's up for sale, but there we go.
Yeah, well, they have to be commercially minded, so they have to look at all options, I guess.
And in July we've got the British athletics championships, haven't we?
We do. We're very fortunate. We host 3 live televised athletics events every year. We have the Diamond, the Grand Prix Indoor Series at the Barclaycard Arena, and then we have 2 outdoor athletics events at Alexander Stadium. And I guess the highlight is the Diamond League, which is the world's top athletes competing. And so for Birmingham, it's an opportunity to showcase the city because we have the world's sporting media camped out in town at one of the hotels, and they go to the Alexander Stadium. So for us, it's a great honour because the Diamond League only happens twice in the UK, and Birmingham is the other option. Of course, one has to be in London, but we are very fortunate that for the last 2 years, it's been hosted in Birmingham. It's hosted this year, and we're in negotiations to secure the Diamond League for potentially the next 5 years.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And how do you find the Midlands public support such events?
They love it. Athletics is a very, very good ticket seller. Regardless of when athletics goes through good times and bad times. I mean, when I remember back at the height of British athletics, the men's team and the ladies' team, every member was a household name. You knew everybody. Perhaps in this day and age, you'd struggle to think of 1 or 2, and that's something that, you know, the sport has to deal with. But in terms of spectator interest, we get sellout crowds. Yeah.
That's good to know, isn't it? Because it's, you know, we need it in the city, and we need.
Do.
Finally, I think we're getting behind this city, and we're not frightened about shouting about what we do.
We are getting better at it. We're getting better. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Guys, unfortunately, the time is more or less up, and I can hear the final whistle on its way. So basically, plenty going on in local sport and in coming months as well. But if we're not talking about your sport, or you have any suggestions for guests, maybe you'd like to see on the sofa, or we'll have a chat to, then please get in touch. You can email extratime@bigcentre.tv. But for now, our thanks to Garry Peal and to Glyn Rowley. Thanks, guys. But that's it. That's full time on Extra Time. See you soon. Bye-bye.